whatever we want in life, whatever dream aspiration is there, you have to have a certain set of intangibles, a certain kind of identity trait that will attain and sustain that kind of life. I don't believe you can attain and sustain above your current identity. And when people are trying to find new areas of life that they want that thing, it's like that thing doesn't come because you learn something. It doesn't come because you now know how to access it. It comes because you do the actions in the direction of that. And over time, the actions become who you are to do that.
That's Anthony Trucks. He's a former professional football player turned author, speaker, transformational coach, and today he is here to talk to us about dark work. After being placed in foster care as a child, experiencing insane abuse, and later losing his football career to an injury, he rebuilt his life and career by intentionally changing how he saw himself. He's the author of the book Identity Shift and is here to talk about how we can create the next level of ourselves through some real dark work. Sound creepy? Buckle in. This is Anthony Trucks. Anthony Trucks, you told me about 2 years ago that you were exploring this concept of dark work.
Yes.
And I got excited because it sounded a little creepy and it sounded fun and interesting. And immediately I thought it was shadow work. Shadow work instead of dark work. But I've learned since then that's not necessarily what you mean shadow work. What is dark work?
Oh, that's a good question. I love this one. Shadow work is what you do to go figure out what's going on in the shadows, what's, we'll say, causing the issues you got going on. Dark work is what you do once you know. I think oftentimes people spend time like, let's go figure out why am I here and what's going on. You got to dig into the background, the dark stuff. Most of us don't want to kind of find out. Dark work is what you do that goes, okay, hey, I know now what is my hindrances. I know what's slowing me down. I know what's keeping me back. I must now go work on that. And you don't work on it in front of like an auditorium of people and a stadium. You actually do it behind the scenes. And I mean, sometimes, you'll see flash of stuff, but most of the time it's work that's gritty, uncomfortable, difficult, misunderstood, ridiculed stuff that you do that develops two things. One is a skill set. You get good at something, but two, you develop an identity that is desiring to wield that new skill set. It comes with a mentality of I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. And then over time, shadow work hopefully becomes less and less needed because you're actually dealing with the things before they make it back into the shadows.
Do you remember what the first shadow piece you started working on that you considered dark work?
For myself?
Yeah.
Oh, 1,000%. I've done my own dark work on my dark work for sure. I mean, when you lead a brand, like I've gone down so many rabbit holes of doing what I do. The biggest thing people go, well, what's the purpose of dark work? And I will show you where mine is. For me, it was to develop a dominator's identity. Now, this wasn't something that I knew back when I was first doing this. This is what's come to light now. But it's a different kind of identity that everybody has access to, which is your version of the most dominant sense of yourself. And it's not just dominating other people, it's dominating the weaker version of yourself. I call it a submitter, the one who complains and lets, things pull them off track. And it's the excuse-ridden world. It's the person that submits to difficulty. Now, for me, I addressed this individual when I was first 15 years old. That's the very first time I can recall doing it. And I didn't have the thought of dark work, by the way. It was just like, hey, I'm living this life that I want to be better. I was at the time I was recently adopted by my family. My mom was sick. I wanted to try my hand at this game of football. I wasn't really good at it, but I wanted to try it and be good. And I sucked at it. And I kind of at one point chalked it up. But then I got to a level where I go, you know what? I don't like how this is going. Like where the train's headed, I'm not a fan of. Something's got to change. And so I was introduced to, for me, the plan of like, I want to be a great football player. And most of all of us, we have these desires for something in the future, but we don't do the things now that are required to attain or sustain that dream future. And so for me, I was like, wasn't good at football, but I want to be great at football. So I started doing things that would make me good, right? Lifting weights, running routes, catching footballs. But I wasn't good at them. And so what I would call my dark work is I committed to doing this stuff behind the scenes for months. And truthfully, it's a thing where like people made fun of me. Like I had teammates make fun of me because I was out there running routes or lifting weights and I'm skinny and I'm slow. I can't catch that. Why are you catching a football, right? All these little nuanced things. But what happens is month one, like you do it. You don't believe you could do it. Nobody else does, but you keep on doing it. Month two goes by, you get a little bit better. Month three gets by a little bit better. By the time I got to 7 months of doing this, it had been so long and arduous that I had inherently developed skill sets. You can't not develop a skill set. But I had this, what I call human investment bias, and all of us have this. When you've given to something, a relationship, you've given money to something, time to something, you want to return, right? And for me, in giving hard work towards something, the return that we desire most of the time we get is confidence, pride, self-esteem in that thing. And oftentimes, the harder it is, the more the return is. I had this interesting thought of a joke that they say what's the one rule of CrossFit? Always talk about CrossFit. It's not a real rule, but it's like a joking rule, because truthfully, it's a hard thing they do. So what do? They talk about it all the time, right? And so for all of us, the thing that's hardest gives us the most pride and confidence, that sense of self that I can pursue something different. And that's kind of where at 15 years old I developed that mentality. So when I got in the football field, that was my football, my tackle, my touchdown. It was an inherent, like a guttural ownership of I've already earned this. I'm now collecting. And that can show up in a lot of ways. Now, it doesn't have to be gritty like that. It can be, hey, I've shown up amazingly in my marriage, so I expect to have a wife that loves me because I'm doing things to be a great husband, right? So I want to have that. Or my business. You got to outwork the doubt and do different things to where in time you go, no, I expect to have this success. An example is people who work really hard to win a sports championship, no matter what it is. I have never seen somebody after winning a Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or the World Series go, oh my gosh, I'm so surprised that we won this. I'd never in a million years. It's complete. They go,
Right.
no, I expected this. We worked for this. We trained for this. We prepared for it. We fought through hardship. It's an expectation. And it's because of the work they did. So this concept bleeds into all parts of life. For the first time for me, it happened at 15 in football.
I'm going to call it the switch. I don't know if there's a better word for this, but I feel like there is a switch that can happen internally inside of us as humans. And it's so weird because sometimes I've tried to turn that switch on and it's not really on. And there's other times I didn't put much thought into it and something switched in me. I remember driving down the highway and I used to be addicted. I drank so much Diet Coke. I'm talking big. I probably had a gallon or two a day. I just drank it and drank it and drank it.
Yeah.
And I remember us going down the road and my husband, I said, I'm going to quit Diet Coke. And he goes, like that.
Yeah.
And something inside of me, the switch.
Yeah.
I didn't drink it for several years. I just put it down. A girlfriend of mine, she drank alcohol a lot. And one day she woke up and said, never again, and just switch. It's like a switch where you can kind of go into that dark work place and you have whatever that thing is. But then there are other times where I'm like, you know what? I am freaking done with this. I'm done with that. And for some reason that switch does not go off. And I haven't been able to figure out what it is, where sometimes you're done and other times you think you're done, but you're really not. What's going on there in your opinion?
In my opinion, I can't be definitive. I've not done a study on this, but I've thought about this often because it's something how do I get my son to find a way to just all of a sudden, dude, you want this dream? Here's what it takes. Go get it. And that's just the thing is I want other people to do these things, but it is what it is. I found this though. What you're talking to is language that I say on demand or when crap hits the fan. And oftentimes we realize that we've already done this, by the way. All of us listening have already had these moments take place. It's not foreign. We're just going to give you a perspective on what's happened. We've all made changes in life. Something's nuanced. You told me Diet Coke, right? At some point, same thing. I was like, I'm done drinking. I didn't have a definitive reason. I'm not an alcoholic. I was like, nah, I don't want to drink alcohol. It doesn't help me. But there's a certain point, right? And so I think the person that waits till crap hits the fan is in a heavy disadvantage in life. They go, hey, I just, all of a sudden the marriage fell apart. I've lost something. I'm sick or whatever it is. Now I got to make a change. They're forced to. Or like you just said, hey, all of a sudden I'm going to change this. And you just choose to change it. Now, the catalyst for that can be multiple different things, right? For you, it was your husband challenging who you are a little bit. And you go, oh, hell no. And so that challenge kind of fires you up. And then for your other friends, just was like a moment of clarity of I don't like this. And then we made a choice. The interesting thing is that switch can happen for a lot of reasons for all of us. And it's usually tied to our desires, our beliefs, our sense of self, and multiple different things in the background. But here's what I do know. No one can make you switch. In fact, when somebody tells you to do it, that's actually usually the reason you won't do it. I saw a video recently of some girl. So she's like, I got ADD and I came downstairs and my dad always says, take the garbage out. And I had this exciting idea. I'm going to do it without him asking me. So I'm headed to get the garbage out. I get 3 steps from the garbage can and he says, hey, Haley, can you take the garbage out? And now I don't want to do it. It's like it changed completely because somebody else was given the idea. And so usually the switch happens because you've made the choice and you commit because it's now your idea. But what
Yeah.
triggers it, it varies for everybody. I mean, there is no definitive. I mean, for me, it was, to be honest, I talk about at 15, I decided to do my dark work. It was two girls talking, and one girl said to the other girl, well, the reason I'm so bad is because I'm in foster care, which was just her having a conversation, me eavesdropping. But it was this thought of like, ooh, I'm a former foster kid. Like that's a crappy thing to hear and to say. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. And I changed my entire life. Like everything has changed since that moment in time. What was the trigger? I think it was just somebody saying something that I digested and go, I don't like how that feels. And so oftentimes I find it's either a moment of challenge or a moment of clarity. Like you just said, a moment of like, hey, you're not gonna like the joking, the laugh. You're like, oh hell no, I'm gonna prove I'm better than that, right? Or somebody
Yeah.
having clarity, going, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, and they just stop. And that sometimes is
Yeah.
enough. I think people are looking for this, this amazing. I turned aside, and all of a sudden, out of the heavens, they opened up, and a purple cow came down with golden wings. Like, you don't need some crazy off the wall catalyst moment. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm done with that. And then we go. And that's completely okay as long as it creates this on demand choice to make the change.
Yeah. For those who don't know your story, can you give me just some context of where you come from, what you've
Mhm.
walked through in your life, just for context for some of the next questions I ask you about dark work? Because I think there's a level of grittiness that comes from going through some shit and this resolve that can happen to people if we harness it in the right way. I have some questions around that, but I think it's important for folks to understand who you are, what you've walked through,
Mhm.
and the calling that God has on your life right now.
Yeah, yeah, count me in. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest for those that know what that is, version of this.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
I actually recently saw a Reader's Digest at my grandma's, well, my wife's grandma's house in the bathroom. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen one of these for
Yeah.
like a decade. But no, here's what it is. I was given away as a kid into foster care. I endured a lot of heinous stuff in the foster care system, beatings, starvings, torture, weird stuff, man, by pretty heinous people. And I was unhappy for a lot of years. I ended up bouncing around at my sixth house at 6 years old. Ended up in an all white family, very poor, and had to navigate a lot of the questions of who am I, where do I fit. My first foster dad was a drunk, used to beat my mom, a lot of crazy. And then I eventually kind of progressed through school and navigated the ups and downs and headed into this world of high school, not knowing who I was, where I fit, whatever it was. I finally got adopted after 8 years with that family at 14. And I was thrust into this world of like navigating, like I mentioned, the football stuff and high school stuff and where do I fit. And I interestingly, like I've spoken like this all my life. And so as a kid growing up in an area where I grew up, like you're the whitewashed Oreo kid. So I had to grow up getting called names all day long. And so it was the kind of thing where I found my footing in a space which was athletics. If winning, I've
Mm.
found solves everything. When you get good at sports, people like you. And it's like, oh, let me do that. So I leaned into that, which is a gift and a curse, to be quite honest. And then so I went through the whole world of navigating the ups and downs. Eventually got really good at football, got a scholarship, but then that was my identity. It'll make sense in a moment why I say that. I was a football guy. It gave me all my sense of power, right? And then I progressed through, got a scholarship, played football at Oregon, met my biological father at 21, had my first son at 21. An accident on both accounts, but both phenomenal accidents. Progressed through college, had injuries, setbacks, fought back from those, which were not easy, but I did. Got a chance to play in the NFL. But first year I wanted to quit at one point, but I stuck in it and kept moving. There's a whole story around that. And I battled out a guy and got a job my third year. And so I spent 3 years in there. My third year, I tore my shoulder because NFL stands for not for long. You're in, you get hurt, you get out. And I came home and I had no idea who I was without the identity of football anymore.
Yeah.
My wife and
Yeah.
I had gotten my high school sweetheart. We got married right at the end of high school, or college. And so we entered this whole world post football, and I didn't know who I was. I had this lack of sense of identity. We had two more kids. So now I'm a 26-year-old with a 3-year-old, newborn twins, and I'm starting this new fitness business. I have no idea what I'm doing. We almost go bankrupt in the first 9 months, figure that out, thankfully. And then life falls apart. I get divorced, and I go through a really dark time, suicidal, not a good dad, not a good husband, or even a partner in relationships. And then after 3 years of divorce, essentially I get to this world where my adoptive mom passed away from MS. She'd been actually diagnosed when I was 14. And it woke me up. Like you talk about the moment that wakes you up, it's like, dang, this woman's body robbed her of the ability to live a good life. But I'm over here healthy and not living in the area of any kind of what she's raised me to be. And I woke up one day, January 1st, 2016, looked in the mirror, go, I hate this guy. I don't like this. I wouldn't want my daughter to be with a guy like this. I wouldn't want my sons to mimic a man like this. My mom would not approve, and my God would not let me into heaven doing the things I'm doing. And so it was a complete revamp of who I was. And I went to the first intentional dark work window of me just digging in and going, "Hey, Anthony, why is your life like this? And let's start with you as the reason," right? It was this idea that I'm the common denominator, and we all are, in all of our problems. Either we've created the problem or we're allowing it to persist in our lives. And I had to make so many apologies and rectify relationships and dig into me and myself and rebuild. And then in doing so, came to the backside where God, in a weird way, brought my wife and I back together after 3 years divorced. Now have an amazing marriage. We're 10 years deep in a remarriage, and it's beautiful. My life is crazy good right now. And so I have a joy around me. But I will say this: the man you see here talking to you is not the man that got me here. The guy that got me here was the guy that was able to go into the darkness and get his hands dirty and do and say things that were required of me at levels that my heart like knew were right, but the ego didn't want to do, or like people,
Mm-hmm.
that just a lot of dynamic to it. But there are days like I go back to and go, the only way I got through is because that other guy came up and he said, "I got you," and he handled the business. And I built this guy now, and I've now been able to turn around to the world and go, "Hey, I've done some things, I've been through some crazy, but here's what I do know. Everyone has the ability to access a higher level of life. You just have to choose to do that dark work to build into it."
You reinvented yourself. It sounds like a lot. And I
Yeah.
was curious if you view this as a process of getting more in touch with you in your truest state, your being, or is it creating you, right? And defining who that person is.
Yeah. That's a great way to say it. There's like, it's interesting. So my work's an identity, which I'll give my definition is who you are when you're not thinking about who you are. And the interesting thing is, there's a biblical sense to it. There's also like I think a life, our regular world sense to it. What I've found is what you just mentioned is true. I don't think you find your identity. I think there's one for you. It's layered with a bunch of crap on top right now of the world's beliefs or situations or whatever you lived in and walked into. And at some point you wake up and go, "This doesn't feel right. This belief doesn't sit right in my head. The way that the world functions, I don't believe in." Like, I have these different sense of beliefs and thoughts, right? And that's the first part of it. The second part is where I go, "Well, who do I want to be?" And that's a question that few people actually pay attention to. They'll ask, "What habits do I want?
Right.
What should I not do?" Like, we ask these little questions and we start doing things, but we don't realize all the things you do become who you are. And if you don't start with who you want to become, you're going to become somebody you might not want to be. Like, I've seen people
Right.
go, "Bob, he's super successful in the company. I want to be successful as Bob. I'm going to do everything Bob does." So you do everything Bob does. And then you get fast forward 3 years, you're like Bob. Now you're overweight. Your wife doesn't like you. Your kids don't see you. You're working all day long. It's like you never thought about what Bob's life is like and who he became. And
Yeah.
so there's a dance there. But I think you do build that person, and you can do it intentionally. And I don't think it's a reinvention more so than it is an elevation. Like, I think you elevate to new access points of your life because whatever we want in life, whatever dream aspiration is there, you have to have a certain set of intangibles, a certain kind of identity trait that will attain and sustain that kind of life. I don't believe you can attain and sustain above your current identity. If you don't like dogs, you can't be a dog trainer. It's just weird, right? But if you
Yeah.
have certain habits and traits, you can do that. And when people are trying to find new areas of life that they want that thing, it's like that thing doesn't come because you learned something. It doesn't come because you now know how to access it. It comes because you do the actions in the direction of that. And over time, the actions become who you are to do that. And then you get to have that part of your life. And so it's an elevation more so. And a simple example would be like, I'm a dad. I've been a dad since I was 21 years old. When I first knew that I had a kid coming, I didn't feel like a dad. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a student athlete. I'm at college playing football." But then the kid comes and I go, "Oh, I got to figure this thing out so he doesn't die." And then little by little, I build in to take the actions to become that guy that's now like, "No, I'm a phenomenal dad. I got two more kids and I'm dialed in there." And at times I was down back and forth, right? But at a certain point you go, what does a dad need to do? And you look at it, it's like you got to be present. You got to carve out time. You got to have compassion, empathy. You have to be able to give lessons and ideas. You have to, teach them things about life and how to grow. You have to be present with them to be able to navigate the hardships. There's actions you do, but it's an elevation of who I was. I didn't go find the dad in me. I developed the dad and I elevated to be that guy. And I still do. I'm not perfect, but I think that's what it ends up for a lot of us. We think it's a finding of an identity out there. I think it's a development, a creation intentionally in the direction of the traits you need to have the life you want to live.
Are you a Christian,
I,
faith-based person? I think you are. Yeah,
yeah.
I think you are. I don't ever know if that's rude to ask people. Are you a Christian? What do you feel about God?
It shouldn't be. We live in a weird world nowadays, but yeah, it shouldn't
We
be.
do. We do. One thing that I've wrestled with my spiritual training is I grew up evangelical Christian, Southern Bible Belt, Holy
Mm,
Spirit, amen, hallelujah.
yeah.
We were, at least where I grew up, there was a tangible fear around anything dark or, whatever. My mama was afraid of demons like hardcore. We'd be
Yeah.
casting out a bunch of stuff in my house. So, and I know what we're talking about is not shadow work. This is dark work, what you do
Yeah.
when nobody's looking. But there's
Hmm.
also somebody I'm sure that you meet there that
Yeah.
is the gritty, dark side to yourself. And there's almost, tell me if I'm wrong on this, I feel like to really progress in whatever that hard goal is and to be able to do the dark work, there's another side to yourself that you have to meet and befriend a little bit where
Mm,
it's not the pretty side to you,
yeah.
And I'm thinking from a spiritual standpoint, I'm curious your thoughts as somebody who follows Jesus and biblical teaching, because kind of the new agey world, shadow work's really big and like the dark and the light coexisting and yada yada. And I've been trying to figure out from a Christian perspective, what does that actually look like? Because I think it's a disservice when, as Christians, we've been taught to be terrified of the dark when there's so much that we need to do in the dark and learn
Yeah.
in the dark. And it's still an element of God. May I say that? I
It
don't
is.
know. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
a little weird, but I threw up all over you. I'm curious your perception
No,
on
you're
this.
right. This is interesting because when I first started the brand, one of my pastors, his name's Jason. We used to have these kind of conversations, and it's like, "Can I do this work here?" But it also, I don't know if it conflicts with my faith, and like, not that it internally does, but I don't want to be the guy that people go to in place of God, like in place of Jesus. And so we kind of unpacked it all. But a lot of the things is one is like Jesus disappeared for a while, like he took off and it came, like he took off, like there's a window of time where he was in the dark. And now, in the dark doesn't mean he was in a dark place. It just means he was away from the main public eye. He was, doing his thing and developing, and he came back. And there's a space where I think that's kind of metaphorically what it is for us. You don't have to go into the dark and the depths and like the demon world, but it's essentially saying, I'm going away from the eyes of the world to go and work on me. And I think dark work is a spiritual practice as well. It's when I pray, I'm in the dark. When I'm spending, and meaning I'm away from the public eye seeing things, right? When with my wife and we're working on ourselves, like our marriage, like that's in the dark. Just essentially, it's away from the place. But what you were mentioning also is a unique thing. If you look at it, I don't know if it's going to make sense 100%. It's kind of like the First Testament, God. He was a wrathful God. Like, there's a darkness to that, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's darkness is evil, but like there are certain things that have to be done that are not always joyous and amazing, right? A lot of our lives take a person that can show up and handle the crazy. All of a sudden you get some bad news, or you have to fight to build the business, you have to fight to fix the marriage like I did, or you have to get yourself back in a position of being respected by people around you. There's going to be a lot of things you do that are very hard, and that person isn't going to show up with a smile on their face that day. It's work boots and it's gloves. Let's get to work. And when I talk about the dark place, like that dark place is simply the depth you go to fight for what you believe in. And if you look at the lives we all live, there's things we believe in that require us to fight. And that fight, it's Jordan Peterson. He's a psychologist. I like his language. He says, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And the cool part about that, and I don't know if it's definitive about this, but he says it's like the idea is that you should have the ability to fight, but you don't have to wield the sword every day. It's that you have
Mhm.
virtue and the ability to be strong, to be protected, to actually then be able to control that. And so I look at it like as controlled aggression or controlled, if you want, so power to an extent of going, hey, every day this is me. This is Anthony, definitively. But I've had more than my share of moments where somebody, we're out and traveling the world and somebody shows up that is in a position that could hurt my family. I have eyes on that person. I've had to handle stuff on airplanes, weirdly, like where people do things and like they're, being disrespectful with my daughter or something. And I have to bring that guy up. But the thing is I've met that guy. I know that guy. I have an intimate relationship. So when he does come forward, he's not a shotgun going crazy. He just has that controlled ability to be the guy that needs to fight in that moment. And so I think what happens is, you are right. There's a place that we don't have a relationship with or a connection to, that the aggressive or intense or fighting version of ourselves. But that person has to fight many times in our lives past the hardships or even against the evil that we face to be able to be, I think, strong and virtuous in the world. It's like that whole statement goes, sometimes evil needs to prosper for good people to do nothing. But when you fight evil, you don't fight it with a smile on your face. You fight it like a fighter fights. And so there's a place where I think we do have to learn to get to that area and handle that person. I'm not always talking physical. You don't got to punch somebody in the face, right? It's sometimes it's holding your ground and keeping boundaries and saying no, or saying yes to something, or admitting a fault, or apologizing. There's gritty things to do. But when you do those things, I have found that you end up living a more free life, because I know that I can step in almost any situation, but I bring me to that situation. So let's go. It's a different sense of confidence and peace. It's not because I think I'm going to have to go and handle something, but if I need to, I can.
Is there a way to deepen that well of desire to change and to, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced this before, where you're like, I desire, my dream is this. And then you start working on it for a couple of weeks, and then you just kind of fade off, and that deep conviction is not there. And you wonder to yourself, is this because I suck? Do I not have discipline? Or maybe this isn't God's calling on my life. Sometimes we like to bypass it on that, but how do we, or can we deepen that resolve?
You've come to a good fork in the road that I don't have a definitive answer on, but I have found a solution to helping me at least navigate that, because I know exactly what you're talking about. First off, I know that there are a lot of ideas that are placed in front of us every day. There's new, ads and marketing and different things we see, or different possibilities, different people we meet. And I think oftentimes we can be, nowadays more than ever, distracted and pulled away from anything. And so what I have found is there are certain times when I'll find something that tugs on my heart differently. The emotion is like, I really like this idea. I really want to do this. And it sounds good now because all you think about is the great things to get there. And it becomes what I call the vision. We all get a vision of what could be. And interestingly enough, I heard one of my pastors one time said, he said, God gives you the vision, but he doesn't give you the path. Because if he gave you the path, you wouldn't walk it. It's going to be hard to get to the place you want. So you get the vision, right? And then you go down that path you're talking about of going like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. This is what I should be doing. And I question it. And after a while, I started going, I'm going to stop questioning the vision because the fear gets in the way. And the fear, the difficulty is what usually becomes a friction. That's going like, do I really want this thing? Because not do I want it. It's like if I was asked, do you want that freeing? If you could do nothing to get it, would you want it? Oh yeah, I want it. Then the real problem isn't the thing that I want. It's the path to get it. That's the problem. And then here's where I have found that if I commit to a vision, and for me, the desire doesn't come down to what I want. It comes down to who am I? And let me unpack this. It'll make sense, I promise. But for me, my goal is to go, this is what I want. Yes, Anthony, you have made a commitment. You're the kind of person, if you make a commitment, you see it through to the end. That is who you are. Knowing that, Anthony, you cannot rely upon emotion to get you there, because you are not going to feel like doing it one day. Something's going to pop up. You're going to get sick. Your wife's going to have an issue. Your kids are going to have a problem. There's going to be something you face. It's going to be hard, because if that thing is what you desire, it should be hard. Because if it's hard and you go past that and earn it, then you love it more. There's a different connection to it. That's why I say the harder things are, the more pride we develop. And if I asked you right now, like, what's something you're proud of? Like, ask a real question. What are you proud of in life? Like anything in life. What are you proud to have in your life?
My relationship with my girls. It's awesome, and we're tight.
I like it. Now I'm going to ask, has it always been super easy to develop and keep that relationship?
My daughter just turned 13, so it's getting harder all the time.
Yeah, it happens. Now I use it as a sample. We can all feel that, but it's like, yeah, the thing that was hard is like, that's why I savor it so much. That's why it's so beautiful. And so what I look at is go, okay, I got to remove the emotion. So the moment I have a desire, I want to go do something, I have the vision in my head, I go, great, what actions have to be done and what kind of person can attain that? Because it informs my actions. Is it a person that can communicate well, that has patience? Do they respond well? Like, what are the things that person does? And okay, great. Those are the traits I must learn to adopt and bring into myself to do that. But it's not going to be easy at first. So I will structure a set of actions and habits into my calendar and go, that's what I'm going to do. And then when I show up to the day and I don't want to do it because the emotion will disappear 100% at some point in time, the question is not, do I want it anymore? It's like, Anthony, who are you? Oh, you're the kind of guy that's committed, that does the work you don't want to do when it has to be done to get what you want. This is just one of those things. So I show up and get it done. So I remove the feeling from it and go, that's what I want. I've already charted the path of what has to be done actionably. That's on the docket today. And I go do that. And in the midst of that, I will find problems. It just always happens. There's something new you couldn't foresee in a million years. But I'm the kind of guy that identifies as I'm a dominator. I'm going to overcome that. I'm going to battle that. And I've already committed to the end destination. I'm just following the path that previous Anthony set. Let's commit and keep going. And I've done this many times in my life and found that oftentimes when I get to the end destination, two things have taken place. One is I've accomplished this thing and it's way better than I could have ever imagined. Like the thought in my head for my marriage could be when we got back together. This thing it's 10 times better than that. Like it's such a deep connection there. The way that I get to be present with my kids from my business opportunities, like to be able to afford a life that can create cool opportunities and be present for a lot of this stuff could have never, like the emotion of that is so much more amazing than what I thought it was when I was getting started. And so that's the first thing, get a better outcome. The second thing is along that journey, I learned things that I never would have thought would come into my awareness to know. And this is that where most people are like, I want to know everything about them. Like, you actually don't. You think you do because you want to have the sense of confirmation, but oftentimes there's a gift hidden inside the path that you have to earn, to unpack. And that's going to be you facing something, running into some wall or doing something that allows you to learn a new lesson or idea. And I've found that those lessons are always the gold for the next stage of my life. Because I don't think you ever arrive at a place. I think I think the goal is to end up in a destination that is a journey that you enjoy, which is like my destination is my journey. Like every day I get up, I've arrived in a life I love. That was my destination. But it's every day having to do the work, and you maintain that through actions. And after a while, it becomes your human standard to do stuff. Your identity runs a certain way and operates to create the life you have. And so for me at this stage in life, it's like, yeah, it's going to be gritty. It's got to be hard. But the idea is I'm learning so much in the way. The destination will be amazing. And it only will happen if I go down the path. So the desire is there. I don't want to stop the path. I don't want to go like it's too hard and God is really what you want me to do. Like if it wasn't, he wouldn't have given me the idea. It wouldn't have came into my head, and I trust that. And now it's on me. I'm not going to kick it back to him and go like, hey, you sure? It's really hard, dude. Like, what do we do? Yeah. I go, all right. And so I go, who is Anthony? This is who I am. Let's do it today. And I do it. And that has been the most powerful part of what's made a great, amazing life for me in all aspects, is because if I make a commitment to it, I will get it done.
How do you identify what your dark work is right now? Because I'll tell you, I could stay busy AF for the rest of my life and not get a lot of stuff done. You know what I mean? Yep. That's my curse I'm working through. So there's stuff that actually matters and what God is calling you to do and what the deep work is. But I'll tell you, with our dopamine crazy world and all the shoulds and I need to belong and be accepted and blah, blah, you know what I'm saying? I could be so busy and think that I may be doing dark work, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. Like I have to be able to identify what is the dark work I'm being called to right now. And I'm curious how you would help me with that.
Yeah, we all have shiny objects, man. Like that's the thing that will always take place. It's, well, what should I do? And there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
The thought that comes in my head when you ask that is, and I've asked this question of myself too. Somebody one time told me, they go, Anthony, if I locked you in a room for 30 days, you didn't have to eat or sleep, and you could work straight through. He said, you'd actually leave that room with more to do. Because the more we work, the more we find ideas, the more we want to do things and build ideas, and we want to do things and build ideas. And so like there's that demon on your back that's like, you got to go all the time, do things. And it's like, oh, it's intense. And I found that that's why my marriage failed in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I was chasing this idea of what the outcome of my, stature was going to be and status was going to be. And at some point I realized like, no, God placed in my life an amazing family. And that's my North Star. So when you ask how I know what my dark work is genuinely, it's a filter question. Is this going to serve the future I desire, which is a wife that loves me, kids that know their father, and connected relationships with the people that mean the most in my life? If this brings me there, let's do it. If it doesn't or detracts, I don't do it. It makes it really, really easy and simple. Now, there are some nuances, right? So I'm like, well, shoot, if I can make some more money, that could create more time. So should I sacrifice this time here to make more money? And I will say that at times I did that. It never fared well. When I made the money and I had no one to share it with because I was single and divorced, I was like, oh, well, this sucks. It's like all that for this is not worth it. I'd rather be broke and have the family. But then obviously it's not going to be ideal because if I don't make revenue, I can't do those things. And so what I did is go, okay, what is important? For me, it's family. I got to be present. How can I do something that's going to allow me to have time with family, but also make money? And I go, oh, high value. If I can find ways to be of high value to individuals who desire high value, then I can actually create a life that gives me what I need, which is revenue and free time. And then my kids, I can have that the North Star be like they get to see dad chase a dream and do something, and dad's still around. Like that's a big piece of it. Now, I chose the world I do of speaking and coaching, consulting. There's a lot of other ways to do it. But I think what has to happen is people have to figure out what is my North Star, because that creates the path you want to go. But now you got to put guardrails on the side of the freeway. Like everybody, you go up into the mountains like there's guardrails. I'm not going that far. I can go this direction. I can go off road, but I'm going to stay here. And when you do that, here's what it allows you to do. Say no. That's the thing. I try when I do new things, I want to go, okay, great. What am I doing? Is this a new idea? Does it fit inside the guardrails? Yes. Okay, great. Let's do it. If it goes outside the guardrails, meaning it'll take more time from the family, it goes away from boundaries I've already set, it's a no. But you can make more money. Yeah, but I'd be sacrificing my guardrails. I'd be sacrificing what I want more. For example, like I do 24 speeches a year. I could do 100. But my wife and I realize that if I go more than 24 a year, which is about every 2 weeks, that I have a separation of connection to my family the way that I wanted to. So 24 is my number, and that's fine. Now, this could, for other people, look like a stupid move. Business-wise, yeah, I'm counting off and just chopping off potential revenue. But the thing is I would much rather have the family over the revenue. So I found the dance, and I get to be high value so I can charge more and do well. That for me is the dance. And so when I look at the things that are the dark work that I will choose to do now, like right now, my dark work is, can I make sure that when I work, I am finding ways to build out something that's going to produce both high value to high level people that can afford that makes it a viable business that runs, and do it in a way that doesn't have me out of my house all day long, gone traveling all the time. And so that's kind of the dance of my life. And here's what I had to do, though. I actually had to sit quietly in a room and separate from what the world would view as successful. Most folks are trying to create these dreams and goals going, hey, what would the rest of the world see of this? And what does that person want and that person want? And now you're developing these ideas and dreams that they're not even yours. And so I sit in my own room and I sat and go, what do I want? I wanted this with my family, this much time. I want this much money. I want to have this much fulfillment because I want to do things that feel of service. That's what I wanted. I go, great. And I emerged from that. And then I'm telling you, the moment you start to look at the rest of the world, you can really quickly feel how often like the idea you have might seem small. And you go, well, should it be bigger? And should I? And now the world's creeping in and starting to affect the thing that so I keep the world out. I go, here's my family, here's our bubble, here's what we do, here's what we want. Let's live life. And we do. And I'm very, very, very happy in doing that. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't have conversations with people going, dude, if you did this right here, you could actually make an extra $1 million. And I'm like, well, what's required? Well, you have to travel here. And I'm like, no, I'm done. Don't want to do it. But you could. I know potentially I could, but I don't want to because what it removed from my life. And that for me has been the way that I choose what my dark work is, and it's not right now.
You used the word, was it dominator, a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm curious with that mandate, that intention,
Mhm.
and the place that we have to go to internally to dig deep, do the dark work, cross the finish line, become the person that we know we're called to be. There's a strength that you have to operate from. You're
Mhm.
also spirit led man, faith filled. And I'm curious how you keep your heart and spirit tender and sensitive to
Mhm.
hearing the voices and the nudges and the whispers, the wind that
Yeah.
may be guiding you somewhere else when you also have to have that strong, dominant resolve.
Yeah. Well, the thing I explain to people is dominator is we look at it and we should there should be a grittiness to it. And I know that intention is why I chose the word. But if you look at the definition, it means to govern and exert control. And to have governance is like, can I determine and govern what's going on, and can I exert control when I need to? But I think the immediate brain goes to exert control over other people. Like, well, it's not about
Mm.
exerting control over other people. It's actually about can I exert control over the weaker version of me who doesn't want to do that, who made a commitment and wants to go, but I don't want to do that. It's going to cost more time. It's going to be hard. And I go, I don't care what you want. Like, this is what we're going to do. And so I've built this sense of self inside, which goes, I can dominate my morning meditation routine. I can dominate my stretching routine. I can also dominate on the football field where I'm playing the game. I can also dominate in business. And my business domination is like, do I get my tasks done for the day, right? That little thing is what gives me that sense of like I'm moving. But here's the other piece of it is that person you're talking about, that gentle kind of softer guy. Like that guy is who I'm trying to become through doing this gritty
Mm.
stuff. And the way that I get there is this: when I am very confident in who I am, in a sense of not like that I can handle stuff, but like I look in the mirror and love myself, which is what I think is a credible need for most people. When I look at the mirror and I love myself, that person can show up strong for their people because there's a sense of depth of control and of ability. So my ability to be the husband my wife needs on the hard days. Like we actually recently we have a foster kid. There's a different need that he has from my heart. My kids have a different need. Like my clients, everybody needs something, and I can't be abrasive all day long. It's not what I'm trying to be. But when I know, like, hey, I got my stuff done today, I feel good about myself. I got the energy
Yeah.
and power to handle things. And so what that ties to is I love to be able to look in the mirror and respect the man that I am, because if you don't respect somebody, I've found it's harder to love somebody. Like my best friend in the world, I respect him. Therefore, I love him and I'll sacrifice for these people. But if you don't follow up on your own commitments to yourself, you start to lose respect for yourself. You then start to love yourself. You don't take care of yourself. You don't sacrifice for yourself. So you don't take care of your body. You don't take care of your mind, your spirit. So you show up tired and empty and lethargic. It is very hard, if you can't show up for you, to show up empathetically and of service to others. And so my greatest gift to my clients, to my wife, to my kids is first showing up for Anthony the way that I have to do it, so that I have the ability to go, you got this, you're strong, dude. I love you. Let's go to work. And then I can show up for them. I have something more to give. And so to be a dominator doesn't mean that I'm actually being gritty and dominant every moment of my life. It's going, no, I'm dominating the weaker version of me who is diminishing from my ability to be the stronger version of me for the world that needs me to be strong.
Well said. Well said. I got a doozy of a last question to get you out of here. A doozy one.
That's the
But
fun part.
anthonytrucks.com will be linked up in the show notes. You also have, I believe it's a daily podcast, Dark
I do.
Work, or
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. It's
Weekday. Yeah.
very good. That'll be
Thank you.
linked in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to direct our listeners to?
No, just go there and listen to the podcast. It's for me, I've found that in the work I do, I've always loved to just share ideas. If somebody goes, I
Yeah.
like that guy, I'm not hard to find. But I don't like to go like, go by this 17-step process. Like you'll get there at some point if you need to. But now if you like the conversation, come hang out.
Good stuff. All of it be linked in the show notes. I've enjoyed your content over the last couple of years, your videos.
Thank you.
You're doing something special in this world. Last question. You shared a little bit of your story. You had a hell of a childhood, a lot of pain you walked through, healed from, had to overcome. And I'm curious, like, where does that sit now in your life? Because there's an element of competitive edge that folks have when they've been through trauma,
Yeah.
and it can be a driving force. There's also, too, an element where we've got to be healed and let go, let God, and walk through that. And I'm curious your perception of, like, healing and where you put trauma and pain now? Like, do you use it as a driving force, or have you completely just stepped away from that
Now,
side of it?
do you mean past trauma or like stuff that occurred, like comes up recently? There are two different ways.
Past trauma. You went through a lot as a young man,
Yeah.
and that can sit in the body, you know.
Yep. Oh, it does for
And
real.
some folks say, "Hey, that's my competitive edge. Don't be touching my trauma. I need it," you
Yeah.
know. And other folks just work their tails off to
Yeah.
to completely heal. And I don't even know if complete healing is possible, to be honest
Yeah, I
with
don't
you.
know either.
But
I guess the way
yeah,
that I look at it is one, as I rarely call it trauma. I know that what the word means, what we mean by it. And yes, trauma exists. I'm not going to diminish that by any means. But for me, I look at it as it was, it's going to sound weird. I do not like what happened to me, but I appreciate it. In my walk of faith, the idea is that, God gives his greatest trials to those he believes can handle them. And so I believe those who have them, they're capable of handling, but some don't. They use it as a really good excuse to do poorly. And I've gone, man, what greater of a experience to go through than that to develop the skill sets I need to have my goals be met later. So yeah, the things I dealt with people and heinous stuff, it's like it all took place. My mom giving me away, like all that kind of stuff. But I go, wow, I was given situations early enough that gave me the ability to develop skill sets. You can't see it. There's a painting right here on my wall. It's a big one. And I got it because I love the concept. And it has a simple, it's like a big picture of an ocean with a boat, a big, ship. And here's what it says: smooth seas never made skilled sailors. And this thought has been, I have it tattooed on my arm too. It's this thought that I go, man, like those were my rough seas early. And because of the early rough seas, I was able to develop skill sets and intangibles and intangibles earlier than most people. I had a competitive advantage in my hardship because the way I focus on being better in life, now in my age, I'm 42 now, there is very little that can knock me off course. I mean, very
yeah,
little. There's a statement that says a person is only as big as the smallest thing that can take them out of their zone. And it takes a lot to take me out of my zone. And so I look at those past moments, and I even tell when I talk to foster kids and at-risk youth, I go, man, your life may not be great right now, but I'm telling you, you have a choice. You can make this be a reason you do poorly and fall off the rock or the I don't know, fall off the rock, or whatever it is, fall off the wagon, we'll call it, or use it as a really good reason to do phenomenal in life because now you have these skill sets. So I go, it's a gift, it's a superpower if you use it that way. And that's how I actually perceive it. Again, I don't like what happened. I wouldn't be like, let me do it again. Like, I'm not saying that by any
right.
means. But in hindsight, I go, I'm appreciative of what was given to me as obstacles to overcome because it gave me tools and strengths I would have never got in any other way that can now produce an amazing life I get to live.
Yeah. I think I told you this last time. My dad grew up in the system, aged out of the system, a lot of abuse, a lot of stuff. His story is shockingly similar to yours, stuff that happened to him. But it's been really cool to be his daughter because I'm so proud of the generational stuff that he broke off and what
Nice.
he overcome. And as his daughter, I think he's my hero. He's a complete badass. So I'm sure your kids, you're a hero in their eyes, and all the work that you've done, not only to help other people, but also get your family into a healthy place and be the dad that they need. So thank you. It was an honor to spend some time with you. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thanks.
Dark work linked up in the show notes. It's pretty badass. But
Beautiful. Hey,
anything
I'm not
else
gonna
you're
lie,
welcome.
great questions. I don't usually have people where they hop on like they have died. Like those were all unique questions I have yet to get. So thank you for showing up and being amazing yourself.